Hello everybody and welcome to our today's webinar with the Migration Center team. Today's topic is all about migrating rare ECM systems to Microsoft SharePoint Online with the Migration Center database collector. As always, one quick slide of housekeeping. Please note that you are muted during the whole session. Should you have any questions, remarks, inquiries, just enter them into the questions or chat panel of your GoToWebinar box. And please also note that this webinar is being recorded, and once we have it processed, we share it with you after the session. So today's speakers are beginning Fredrik Olsson, our Senior Sales and Partner Manager from FME Products, and following that, Cosmin, responsible for product development at FME Products, is coming up with a demo. And with that being said, I would like to hand over to our first speaker, Fredrik.
Yes, hello. My name is Fredrik Olsson, and I will take you through a few slides before we start with a live demo. So from my side as well, welcome to our webinar today. We're going to look into a little bit what Migration Center is and how that works, and then we're going to look into use case migrating rare system with the database scanner to SharePoint Online connector. And then Cosmin will do a live demo, and after that we'll do a Q&A session, so you can, if you have any questions, we will answer them. Okay, so Migration Center. What are the main problems we solve for our customers? Well, we preserve the data integrity through auditable migration processes. And we also help to accomplish migration without downtimes. We also reduce migration duration significantly and enable our clients to migrate several systems with just one single product. We also help to transform, enrich, clean, and standardize metadata to make sure you have a good overview in your systems. And we also secure a high volume data migration, so you can migrate a big volume of data. We save time compared to custom script. And of course, we secure a legal and audit compliant migration. So we make complex migration projects predictable. So who are we? FME. We are a partner. We're going to be your partner for digital transformation in life science, industrial manufacture, and more. Especially with Migration Center, we are industry independent. So we are actually worldwide in every industry. But we do consulting, concept development, maintenance, and products. And products is what we're going to look into today, or Migration Center 2. We're coming from an enterprise content management about 25 years ago. And where we were founded in 1995. We have about 280 employees, and we are spread out in 3 different countries, 3 offices in Germany, we have an office in Romania, and we also have a full office in the US. And we hope to be the company that you love to work with. So Migration Center. Migration Center have a lot of use cases. The standard one is the migration, of course. That's why you all sign up today. We migrate legacy system and outdated ECM solutions and platforms. We do on-premise to cloud migrations. We do cloud to cloud migrations. And we even do what we call in-place migrations due to storage shifts only. But we also do consolidation. So that means that consolidation of repositories and data silos. And we also do integration of external data and documents. So that happens a lot when you have merger and acquisitions activities going on. In Migration Center, you can solve a lot of things when it comes to rollout of a new system, also decommissioning and retirement of systems, decommissioning of legacy ECM platforms. But we do a lot of archiving as well. So we do enterprise application archiving, email archiving, and we do also backup and recovering repositories. There are some interesting other use cases as well. That means that we can produce test data. We can do timescale batch import if you want to make sure that your main system always have the latest and valid documents. We can do reclassification of content objects and also metadata enrichment and cleansing to make sure you have great data and great metadata in your system so you can actually use what you have in there. So as you see, we have a lot of use cases, not only migrating data from A to B. So why using Migration Center? Well, Migration Center is a 100% out-of-the-box content migration platform, and you don't have to program anything. All you have to do is to configure the system and setting up the rules. And we'll see that in a bit in the live demo. The next one is that we have more than 500 customers and thousands of projects worldwide. Our product has been used for so many years, 16 years now, and it is proven in all those industries. As you can see on the left-hand side, I see a lot of pharmaceutical is the most regulated system. We have 9 out of 10 biggest pharmaceutical companies as customer. There's a little bit of quality stamp. We also do migration without downtime, as I told you before. We can do classifiers, objects, and we can do high performance to manage large data volumes. We have a global service presence, so if you need support in other countries, please talk to us. We can support you there. And we're of course certified by leading enterprise content management vendors throughout the world. A little bit about the solution that we have, the architecture. It's quite straightforward. The whole architecture is built up that we follow a process, analyze, organize, transform, validate, correct, and import. We're going to see that in about 2 slides. But the main core of Migration Center is the client, database, and content store. The client is our Windows client where you do the control center for all migration phases, jobs, and processes. That's actually where you can do something. Then we have the database. The Oracle database includes the business logic and all performance critical processes. And of course, in order to connect to other systems, we need what we call job servers. You have on the left-hand side, the job servers connecting to the source connectors, and on the right-hand side, you have job servers connecting to target system. So the job service runs all export and scan jobs for the source system and import jobs for the target system. What we call a migration path is a combination of source and target system connectors. Today we're going to see the SQL database source connector, and we're going to bring that into the Microsoft SharePoint system. But as you can see also here, you can actually choose what system you want to use. We can manage large data volume, and this picture is not going to stay too long, but it kind of describes how easy it is to set up. You install the job servers close to your system, the source system. We tend to have 2 to 3 job servers per system. You have unlimited numbers of job servers when you lease or buy a Migration Center. The same thing you have on the target system, 2 to 3 job servers you install there. In the middle, you have the Migration Center database, where you have the connection for all your clients. Same thing here, you have unlimited numbers of clients that can log in and work on the migration sets. We can look into that in a bit. And this is also where the documents are stored and where the documents are merged with a new metadata before it goes into the target system. So we can scale up here and become very fast and migrate a lot of documents in a short time. So the bottleneck will be your IT infrastructure and not Migration Center. The use case we're going to look into today is really to migrate and decommission to SharePoint. So you see on the left-hand side here, we have 2 possibilities. We have a legacy system, unstructured, inactive records, but maybe you also have systems that are unstructured records, but it's a running system. So if you like, you can do both, or you do either of them. So with a database scanner, you have the possibility to dock to any of those systems. The requirements for using the database connector are that the database system has a JDBC driver. We have a directly accessible by job service component. All necessary metadata is accessible by SQL queries, and the content is saved in file share or referenced in the database blob column. So once you've done that, we can bring all the data into the Microsoft SharePoint Online, as you see here. And once the legacy system is over, you just close down and decommission that system, but the running system can continue with Migration Center. So this makes Migration Center a tool that you can use for many, many years And we have a lot of customers doing this use case. So by saying that, before we go into the live demo, we're going to see that we follow this approach, this process where we analyze and extract. The documents objects are being exported and analyzed, and we look for the type, format, and metadata. Then we start with the second round to organize. The mesh data is being then organized into manageable batches or migration sets, each containing documents and objects, and they can be processed in a similar way using the same logic. Exactly that we're going to look into in a bit. The next step is to transform and map. For each batch and migration set, transformation rules are being created to generate required values for the target system. The transformation is executed immediately within the migration database. So the next step is the hand in hand that when you're done with the migration set, you can validate the new metadata against the predefined target model. So you can actually, before you start to do the physical migration, you can test if the metadata will fit into the new system. If it doesn't, you will get potential errors back, and you can change this. And once you have changed that and done a new validation, seen that everything works, that's where you start the physical migration. You merge the metadata with the real document, and you bring that into the target system, and you already know it's going to fit into the new system. And that's where you do and press the button import. So by saying that, I will give the word to Cosmin, who will take us through this process. And at the end of the live demo, we're going to have a Q&A, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Cosmin Anikite, and I work on in the product team on Migration Center. And today we'll be taking a look at migrating from any system which has a database behind it that is accessible. And we'll be using, for this demo, we will be using a Documentum system, but I will show you how we are connecting directly to the backend database of this Documentum and fetching all the documents and the metadata that we need. So without any further ado, let's take a look at what we're going to scan. So I have a cabinet here with some folders, and inside the folders, of course, there are some documents eventually that we want to migrate. And here is the target, SharePoint Online. I have this site here called MC-Demo, and the library documents, which is currently empty. Good. So starting with Migration Center, let me close this. So what we are seeing right now is the Migration Center client component, and we are connected to the Migration Center Oracle database instance. And we also have some job servers configured here. We will be using this job server called, which is on this machine called MC-Demo. Good. So as Frederick mentioned earlier, we have followed this step-by-step migration. And the first step is the analyze and extract. So we're going to go to the scanners view. And the first thing you would need to do would be to create a new scanner. So to create a new scanner, you just click on the new button. You would select the adapter type. So in our case, this would be database. You would specify a location where you would want this, a job server where you would want the scanner to run. And you can give it a name. After you selected the adapter type, you see the list will be populated with relevant parameters for getting the scanner to work. So let me just open one that I've prepared in advance. So we can see here some of the mandatory parameters that we have for the database scanner. As we mentioned earlier, the database connector is able to connect to any database which has a JDBC driver. So of course, here we have a JDBC connection string with the host name for our Documentum database and the database instance right here. Here we specify the driver class. In case it's a different one, we'll have to specify the correct driver class for your source database. And then some login details. The actual, let's say, selection of what you want to scan is saved in you have to create a file which contains all the queries that are needed to select the data you need. And just to take just a quick look at this query that I have here. So this is an XML file which can contain multiple queries. Well, the main query here will select which objects we want to select. So I have specified the query to get objects based on the cabinet that I want. Then we have another query which creates the version trees for each object. So you're able to maintain the versions of all the objects by linking them together using this query. And then we have several queries for fetching metadata, and you can have either one query or multiple ones separate for fetching data based on different configurations that you need. So I will not get into all the details of all of these queries. After you have configured your query file and your scanner is configured to use that query file, all that's left to do is to save the scanner and then click on Run. And once you click on Run, you will see the scanner status has changed to running. And because this is a direct database scan, this will be pretty fast. So it's already finished if we refresh. And now we can take a look at the history of this particular scanner. And we see we have one scan run performed. And we have 90 objects scanned by the database scanner. We can also take a look at exactly what these objects are. So this is the source objects view, where each row represents a object. And then you have different columns. We have some internal columns here for linking the objects in between them in Migration Center. And then we have the columns for all of the source metadata, which we configured from the queries that we've done. So we have, everything like version labels and our modifier, creation date. You can, if anything is accessible via the SQL queries, you can just configure it and it will be saved here as source metadata for each object. You will also notice that we have some versions. So these columns represent how the different objects are linked together as versions. So these objects here have different levels in a version tree. Good. After you have scanned your objects, that means we're ready to move on to the organize phase. So we'll go to the migration sets view. Again, to create a migration set, you just click on the new button, you create you specify a name for it, and then you specify a migration path. In our case, this would be database to SharePoint Online document. And let me just open the mixset that I have already created in advance. So we have our mixset database to SharePoint document. And on the next tab, you're able to see all the scan runs which you have done, which corresponds to this migration path. In this case, all the database scan runs. And you can see I have another scan run here. And this is the one we have just performed. So we're going to select this one. Now, before locking the objects into this mixset for further processing, we have some filtering options. So we have a very simple exclude objects by values filter. So an exclusion filter based on the metadata of the object. So you can exclude, for example, entire folders or a lot of documents which have the same value. And we can do, for example, let's exclude these two objects. And besides the simple filters, we have some advanced filtering. And here you can configure more of a rule-based filtering, such as documents which were created after a certain date would be an example. And here you can make more complex filtering rules. But for the purpose of this demo, we'll just stay with this configuration here. So we click on select objects to lock these objects into this mix. And now we see instead of having 90 objects, we have excluded some of them, and we have a total of 82 objects we want to process. The remaining objects can be added from the same scan run into a different mix set, and then you can import them based on different transformation rules. Speaking of transformation rules, let's go directly to the transformation rules. So quickly explain what a transformation rule is. I'll just show you. So you create a transformation rule here, you give it a name, and then you have a set of transformation functions, which are at their core string manipulation functions with a few exceptions. And these allow you to get source attributes, so values. You specify source attributes, and they will be returned by the function as target metadata. You can just, let's say, using the concatenate functions, you could create a new attribute which gets the object name and concatenates it with a parentheses, and then another attribute as content size. This would be just a basic example. And then you can also link multiple rules together using the previous step function. So you can chain functions together to create really complex transformation scenarios. So what I have prepared here is I have created just a few rules, a rule for manually setting an author, a rule for extracting the original creation date, and then one for the original modified date. So we'll maintain the creation and modified dates from the source into SharePoint. And then I have a name rule. So I can just select and type object name, and then we will have the name for our objects. And then we also have some system attributes, and these work in the same way, but they have a fixed name and they serve a specific purpose. One of them is setting the SharePoint content type we want to migrate. One is for specifying whether the versions in a version tree will be set to major or minor versions. Specifying the parent folder, so the folder structure of each document, and then the site, which will be just this one. Without any further ado, once you have specified the transformation rules that you want, you can apply transformation. And we see our objects have been moved from the unprocessed state to the transformed state. And now we can take a look. So instead of taking a look at the source objects like we did earlier, we can take a look at the processed objects. And here we will see the results of all our transformation rules. So in our case, we're not doing too much. We're just specifying whether some versions will be major or minor. We have removed the cabinet name from the parent folder, so everything will go under the documents library, and then the folder structure will start from there. And we have assigned the creation and modified dates and then an author for everything. So once the objects have been transformed, what's left to do before actually importing the objects is to apply validation. And what validation is, if we take a look at the list of object types that we have here, object type definitions, we have the document object type, which is the default one from SharePoint Online. And you can see here we have all the fields that we have specified, and some of them are strings, some of them are date, and depending on how your object types in your target system are configured, you could have restrictions for length, or some of them could be mandatory. And what validation does is simply compares the generated values from the rules with the object model, just to make sure that the data will mostly fit and with no issues. Because if you have, for example, a value on an object which exceeds the length limitation, then of course SharePoint will give you an error that the value is not okay. So validation allows you to catch a lot of these issues before actually attempting to import them into SharePoint. So let's apply validation. And once our objects are in the validated state, then that means they are ready to be imported. And that means we go to the importers view. In our case, this will look very similar to the scanner window. So you have your name, your adapter type, in our case, SharePoint Online, and the location where we want this to run, the same job server. And the parameters, of course, will be specific to your target adapter. In our case, this will be our SharePoint, the site name where we want to import, and then we have the authentication is done using the app client ID and app client secret for this migration. We also have this checkbox here, auto create folders, and this will ensure that based on the parent folder system rule that we have configured, each document will have its entire folder structure created if it does not already exist. So that is a very convenient setting. Good. So what we have different from the scanner window, we have this mix sets tab, and this allows us to select which mix set we want to import. You can have multiple mix sets selected in the same scanner run, or just this single one in our case. And once you have selected that one, just like we did with the scanner, we're just going to run it. And you can see the status has changed to running. And you can have, it's worth mentioning, you can have multiple scan runs running in parallel, scan runs and import runs running in parallel on the same job server and on multiple job servers as well. So that allows a lot of flexibility on how you configure your scans and imports, and allows scalability for performance. We can also take a look at the import history, and we see objects have already already being processed. And you can also see this processing in the mix sets view. If we refresh, we can see that the objects are already being imported, and they are moving from the validated state into the imported state. If we go to take a look in our SharePoint site, we see the folder structure has already started to be created. And we can see here, if we go, let's say, to some of these documents, the documents are already being imported with their name. You can see the creation and modified date have been kept like it was in our source system. Yeah, and what's left now is just for the import to finish, and that is the migration from a database to SharePoint Online using Migration Center. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Cosmin. I hope this explains how easy it is to use Migration Center and how flexible it is. So some outstanding capability that we have, I mentioned a few of them already, but we have a metadata transformation engine. We can manage the large data volume, real-time simulation and test. We've seen that. The central migration database to where you work with all the information, predefined migration approach, successive delta migrations to make sure that the users don't get disturbed when you do migration from a running system. We're ready for sensitive environments, and for those who are interested, we also have the in-place update migrations, and we also have artificial intelligence capabilities built into Migration Center. So by saying that, please visit also our website, where you can get your own evaluation copy. You can find a lot of product features, success stories, and reach out to us, and be happy to support you with your migration project and making sure that it's successful.
That's our end slide. So let me thank you for attending today. We hope to see you again soon in one of our other webinars, or if you have any questions coming in after the session, of course, reach out to us. Just go to our website, migration-center.com, or write us an email at info@migration-center.com. So thank you very much for attending again. I hope you have a great day, and See you soon.